everybody? It's the Bulls Show, aka Aidan, and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a Chicago Bulls and New York Knicks game reaction where the Chicago Bulls continue to struggle in many ways, which leads to another loss against a team that we should have definitely picked up a win from, in my personal opinion. But now we're sitting here once again talking about why the Chicago Bulls are losing, why the Chicago Bulls are struggling, and that momentum that I've been talking about. That's a terrible way to get consistency and momentum for your team. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bulls Show. Turn notifications on and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls game today, your player of the game, and your overall thoughts and opinions on the Bulls. We lost the game 109-104. Honestly, it's one of those games where I'm in utter shock that we lost that game. And at the end of the day, it comes down to effort, it comes down to defense, and it comes down to rebounding as well for the Chicago Bulls. Probably the biggest problems in today's game were the ones that I was just saying right there. I can't believe how poorly this team came into this game and did not adjust really whatsoever in terms of trying to fix the errors that we're trying to do. And I put this loss a lot on the coaching staff today, but we're going to get into all those positives and negatives. Again, this is a wasted opportunity considering how many of the sequences throughout the day that other NBA teams were going around. Again, Boston ended up losing their game to the Toronto Raptors in overtime, I believe, because of Robert Williams' injury. They had Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum out, sorry. So Raptors in overtime picked up a big victory over the Boston Celtics. Then obviously I believe Cleveland beat Orlando today. So once again, the two teams that we lost to in terms of that fifth seed in the Eastern Conference, the two teams that we beat, in the Eastern Conference, the Raptors and the Cavs, have both walked away with wins over their respective teams. And we're out here against a team that's been struggling in the New York Knicks, fighting for a play-in position are the New York Knicks. And we walked away with a loss against a team that is trying to battle for the play-in while we're trying to avoid that play-in. So this game has desperation on every single part of this game. From the Knicks side to the Bulls side, you have desperation to win this game, and I don't feel like the Chicago Bulls really got the sense of urgency and the idea of what needed to be done to walk away with the win today. But at the end of the day, we have to talk about what we did positively. I thought our offense was better today compared to the last game against the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's all I really have to say positively wise. We scored more points. DeMar DeRozan finally had a good game. What's negative about this is that the ball movement was nowhere near as good as the first game against Cleveland. The thing about Cleveland is it was a really dreadful second half against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and that's why all the stats that we see in that game probably didn't show how good we were in the first half. But this game, we had a lot less ball movement on this team. And for guys that get a lot of criticism like DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine for not moving the ball, they are probably the highest assist number leading team, the highest in terms of assists in this game. Zach LaVine had 3 assists, which granted is not very good. And DeMar DeRozan had 7. He almost had half of our assist numbers in his hands alone. And other guys contributed with 2 or 3 assists here and there as well. And then the questions begin to be asked, why are the Chicago Bulls not contributing? Because another key thing that I saw in today's game is, once again, way too many passengers on this team. 4 guys scored double digits in today's game, and the rest of them did not even come close to doing so. And again, when you see certain guys get 0 points on this team, when you see guys that take 10 shots and only get 6 points in the game, things of that nature, that is a very frustrating thing to see, because you needed those extra points, you needed more contributors on this team, and the Chicago Bulls failed to see that in this game. Extremely poor from the Chicago Bulls in that area. DeMar had a great game, LaVine had a great game, Vucevic was contributing, Ayo even dropped 10 points in this game as well. But everybody else, where was the help for the Chicago Bulls? This team cannot be 5v10, whatever it is. And the worst part about it is our offense was okay. It was better than Cleveland, but our defense was much worse. And the most important thing to say is we couldn't get rebounds. Rebounding was so poor from this team, and it's frustrating to see. And again, Vucevic had 13 rebounds, but his direct opponent in Mitchell Robinson had so many offensive rebounds, which led to his own 16-point game in Mitchell Robinson. That's very frustrating to see. But again, we've been saying this for a long time now. Rebounding is not just reliant on Nikola Vucevic. How many offensive rebounds did we see that led to second chance opportunities to lead to the Bulls to lose this game? Way too many. And the worst part about it is as well, Julius Randle didn't beat us. That's their best player, or arguably supposed to be their best player. And he got booed out of the building in many ways. They were cheering for Obi Toppin every time he was a passenger in the game, Julius Randle. He had a very bad game this time around. But it wasn't him that beat us. It was guys like RJ Barrett. Obviously, Alec Burke really beat the Bulls in terms of the three-point line. And Zach LaVine has a lot of responsibility on the defensive end in guarding Alec Burke. He was the main guy that was supposed to be guarding him, and he allowed him to drop 27. That's very poor from Zach LaVine on the defensive end. But then you also have guys like Quickly that just went off, had 3-point fouls called upon him and stuff of that nature. Really good game from him as well. And then all the way through, they just had consistent guys. Mitchell Robinson as well. All of their guys were relatively consistent, and our team is just not that consistent. They're a struggling offensive team. They bring the defense. Something that you need to know about the Knicks, they're not going to go away from games. We had a good lead in the first half, but straight away, they put the pressure on us, and straight away we buckled. So we deserve to lose the game. The Knicks played better than us, and at the end of the day, it's a big wasted opportunity by the Chicago Bulls, and it all goes down to rebounding, in my opinion, and that defensive end. Offensively, we need to move the ball more. When our offense was better, our offense probably could have had an opportunity to win the game for us, considering the Knicks were also struggling offensively. But defensively, it's frustrating as hell to see games like this. Again, this is the same type of game we've seen from the Knicks and the Bulls all 4 times, where it's very low scoring. But this was different, in my opinion, because I don't think it was a game where defense was the focus. I honestly don't. I thought that both teams were just struggling so badly that they put up this type of game. Had nothing to do with defense, in my opinion. Had nothing to do with, I guess, how talented your offensive players are. For me personally, this game came down to the hustle plays and who worked harder. And I guess the answer was the New York Knicks. So with that being said, I really don't want to talk too much about this game anymore. It's a frustrating loss. And again, you got so many winnable games coming up. You got so many opportunities to walk away with wins to keep your seed in the Eastern Conference. That's a really hard loss to swallow. And that is against a winnable team. No disrespect to New York. I know New York is struggling at the moment. They're 11th in the Eastern Conference. They're fighting for a play-in spot, and they're probably not going to get there. But at the end of the day, they're not giving up on their season. So you've got to give credit for them for coming in and actually taking this game seriously. Because I don't feel like the Bulls had that sense of urgency. And now, again, we have the same record as the Toronto Raptors now. Maybe, I believe Toronto might have a win over they had the win over Boston, so their record is the same as ours because of that. So again, one bad game, one bad loss. All of a sudden, we drop right down to 6th and potentially could go to 7th. We have to start taking these games seriously, and I just don't feel like the Chicago Bulls are doing enough to try and win these games. And maybe it just comes down to they don't have enough. Maybe they just don't have enough left in the tank to win these games. Maybe it's because of fatigue. Maybe it was because of the injuries early on in the season. Maybe it's because we're too reliant on individual players. I don't really know what the cause of it is, but I honestly feel like we're not doing enough and we don't have enough to walk away with consistent wins in this stretch. That's very upsetting because you got the Wizards next. Winnable game there. They don't have Bradley Beal. They're struggling. You got the Clippers. Clippers might have Paul George back, but there's a good chance that he doesn't play that game. You have to win both of those games. But if you watch this game against the Knicks, can you really trust the Chicago Bulls to do that? I personally don't think we can trust the Bulls to do that. So we'll have to wait and see. I also said earlier on in this video, I put a lot of blame on the coaching staff for a loss like this. So I'm here to explain why it's on the coaching staff, because I feel like you cannot get away with some of the adjustments that the Bulls failed to make in this type of game. New York played big. They always played big in this game. They had a big backup center. They had a big starting center. Obviously, Julius Randle, Obi Toppin. Very easy to know. The New York are going to bully you and play big, use their matchups to their advantage, stuff of that nature, right? And obviously, our biggest weakness was our rebounding. Mainly offensive rebounding, but rebounding in its entirety. We got absolutely bullied on the boards. And again, this is not the first time we've been asking for it. Where is that lineup of Tristan Thompson and Nikola Vucevic? Why can't we see that lineup in a game like this where we are getting bullied? We have a bully on the bench in Tristan Thompson that can handle his own on the power forward position. You got Vucevic that's a rebounding machine, but he alone cannot do it all. You need bigger bodies in this team, and for the life of me, I do not understand why that lineup is not being used anywhere near as much as it should. We are versing much bigger guys, and this team is not rebounding in bunches. We want to leak out in transition. We want to get long rebounds, run out in transition, get an easy bucket. There are a lot of guys that could do that on this team, but the best thing about it is that not everybody has to do that. You only need one or two guys to go out and run in transition to get easy buckets or get a foul. Teams will be forced to foul you so they can prevent easy layups. Tristan Thompson and Vucevic can still work in this lineup while you have guys leak out in transition. If that's really your go-to for your offense, you can still play two bigger bodies and do that. It's so frustrating to see the Chicago Bulls get out-rebounded upon out-rebounded every single game, and we're not seeing adjustments to really show that the Chicago Bulls can fix these issues. And even if you don't play Tristan Thompson, why can't you play Patrick Williams in the starting lineup? If you want to keep his minutes as restricted as possible because he's still not really fit, fair enough. That doesn't mean that when you see two bigger bodies, you can't put Patrick Williams in there to replace Tristan Thompson. Why does Javonte Green always have to be the power forward of a team? He doesn't always need to do that. And unfortunately, he's been put in that position all season, and for the most part, he's worked out well. But not everybody plays small ball, ladies and gentlemen. New York played big, and they went to their advantage in more ways than one, and that's why I put the blame on the coaching staff as well. He also failed to really, help guys like Alex Caruso in terms of getting his sixth foul and all of that stuff, all of that nature, and it's just a frustrating performance. It's a really frustrating performance. It's a frustrating game. But the coaching staff is at fault for this game just as much as the players, in my opinion. The coaching staff can't ask the players to bring more energy and stuff like that. The players have to do that on themselves. If they're coming here playing lazy, that's on the players. But the adjustments of the game, making certain adjustments to fix things, saying that he's going to see a long-term approach of Vucevic and Thompson playing together, yet we only really saw it 3 times, and then we haven't seen it all the way through. We have 7 games left of the season, so when is that going to happen? Where's the long-term approach that we've been told that we're going to get? That's upsetting in my opinion, and again, that's why I put it on the coaching staff as well. The must improve for me is still going to be Coby White. No disrespect to any other guys. Again, I don't really want to give it to Patrick Williams at this point. Maybe if you ask me within another week's time when he has fully developed game time, he's in game shape, and he's still struggling like this, I would give it more to Patrick Williams. But for me, Coby White, because he took so many shots, and that's what I want to see personally. I want to see Coby White take those shots, but some of those shots, in my opinion, are makeable shots. And when you don't make the defenses pay for those shots, you begin to get that situation where you're thinking, what would happen if Coby White makes those shots? Would we win this game? In my opinion, if Coby White was efficient in today's game, we win instantly because we got a bench player that's contributing beyond our starters. That's going to be great for us. But at the end of the day, we don't have that at the moment, and Coby White is not stepping up to produce that for the Chicago Bulls. And it's not all on him. I think our bench in total was awful, and it has been relatively underperforming all season. So that's something we're going to have to address later on. But in terms of this team, and at this point, Coby White has to step up. If Coby White doesn't step up, this team is going to struggle, and our bench will struggle specifically. It's as simple as that. I don't mean to be disrespectful to other guys, but that's just the way that I saw it. My player of the game is DeMar DeRozan. I don't think you could really go away from DeMar DeRozan in this type of game. You could also potentially give the must improve to Alex Caruso, by the way. I don't want to put it just on Coby White, but For me, DeMar DeRozan was the standout guy. Again, he had a really strong game. There were a couple of times, especially in the fourth quarter, where he just took things a little bit too much into his own hands, and he didn't really trust his teammates too much. I saw one good pass to Io for a 3, but DeMar in the fourth quarter was just taking every single shot, it felt like. And we got close. We really did got close. One offensive foul from DeMar DeRozan kind of took the game away from us. That could have been an and one opportunity if it was a blocking foul, but since it was an offensive foul, the game went out of our reach because of that. Also, with DeMar DeRozan, he had the assist to really step up in this game as well. As much as we talk about DeMar and Zach not passing the ball, it's too stagnant isolation plays. Zach LaVine, maybe you could have that conversation with him, but I thought Zach LaVine also had a decent game in my opinion offensively. I don't think he was great defensively at all today. But DeMar DeRozan, I thought he really had a great game in my opinion. One of the games in February that we saw from DeMar DeRozan, you would see in this game against the Knicks. It was a really good game from him. But it is what it is. We struggled. They struggled. It's just that type of game. And we walked away with the loss. Embarrassing loss in my opinion, but what can you do? The next game is firstly, our Bulls record is 43-32 again. Same record as the Raptors, and the Cavs also won. So again, we could potentially be in a play-in spot if we're not careful. We have to keep on winning, and other teams simply are just putting the pressure on us, and let's see how we handle that pressure. We have to handle that pressure. We've got too much to lose if we don't handle that pressure well. The next game's against the Washington Wizards. They don't have Bradley Beal. This has to be not the easiest. This has to be a winnable game. I'm not going to say any game's easy with this team because I just don't feel like we have enough left in the tank to go out and really compete every single night. It's frustrating. I know it's frustrating, but again, you support the Bulls at the highest of the highs. You support the Bulls at the lowest of the lows, and it really feels like this game is really at the lowest point in my opinion. When you lose to a team that's the 11th seed in the Eastern Conference, that's where we were last year. So again, we made progression from last year to this year. But obviously, when you lose to those types of teams and a team that's struggling, and your best player in Julius Randle is not even the one that's hurting you that much, that's really upsetting loss, and we've got to move on from that very quickly. A back-to-back tomorrow, no time to dwell on it. Let's just see what we could do against the Wizards. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you in another Chicago Bulls video, ladies and gentlemen. Have a wonderful and safe day. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care.